If you're in your 30s or 40s right now and you've got nothing saved for retirement, this video is for you. I want to give you 7 recommendations for building yourself a wonderful retirement, including one critically important idea that you should implement starting today. Back when I was a pension fund CEO, there was this older lady who met me at a supermarket and she said, "I'm getting only 500 euros a month. I can't live off of this." She seemed like such a sweet lady. I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth, which is nobody's going to give us big pensions here in Europe. Even if somebody gets 500 euros a month, that's 6,000 euros a year. That's over 100,000 euros over their full retirement. Multiply that by millions of different retirees. We're talking about huge amounts of taxpayer money. But if you're in your 30s or 40s, even if you've got nothing saved for retirement right now, you've still got time. Here's recommendation number 1. Don't be too hard on yourself. Sure, it would be wonderful if you had started saving at 20 or 25, but realistically, almost nobody does it. If you're starting at 35 or 40 or 45, you're not alone. That's actually pretty typical. You can still have a great retirement if you start taking action today. And to prove this point, let's run some quick numbers. So let's say you're 40 years old, so you've got 25 years until retirement. And then maybe your salary is 1,500 euros after taxes, and you can invest 15% of that. So that would be 225 euros per month. And over time, there's going to be inflation, prices will go up, and your income should also go up. Let's assume that is 3% per year. And then your investment profit, let's be moderate and let's assume it's 8% per year. With these assumptions, 25 years from now, your savings would be 267,000 euros. If we use the popular 4% rule, that means you could take out 10,700 euros from your savings to support your pension every year. So that's around 900 euros per month. Well, is that a lot or is that a little? Well, again, assuming that 3% inflation rate, your final salary at age 65 would be 3,100 euros per month. So a passive income of 900 euros would cover around 29% of your final salary. That alone would certainly not be enough for a comfortable life. But you should expect some level of pension. It's not going to be great, but based on many projections, this could be around 40% of your final income. So maybe you're getting 1,250 euros from the government, and you're getting 900 euros every month from your savings. So that's a combined 2,150 euros per month, as much as 70% of your final income. And actually, that's considered quite good, because remember, once you retire, usually your tax rate is lower and you don't have to pay for your kids' schooling anymore or travel to the office or buy work clothes. So usually your costs are lower. 70% of your final income is very comfortable for a nice retirement. Now, of course, it is possible to have much more. You can save and invest 20 to 30% of your income, and then you will have a wonderful retirement with plenty of opportunities for travel and much more. But even putting aside that 15% will make a huge difference in 25 years. So don't be too hard on yourself. You haven't missed the boat. This is doable. Now, of course, finding 50% of your income to save and invest is quite significant. You're gonna feel it because, every euro in your budget is probably accounted for. In a second, I'll show you a few ideas for where you can find those 200 to 300 euros per month to save and invest. But before I do that, here is my second recommendation. Don't delay another year. No, it's absolutely not too late to save for retirement if you're 40. It's even not too late if you're 45 or 50. But every year that you wait does make it significantly more difficult. For example, starting at 40 and saving 225 euros per month, we ended up with 267,000. If we started just 5 years later, if we had only 20 years instead of 25 for investing, then it would take as much as 360 euros per month to get to the same result. That means you need to save and invest 60% more every month just because you waited an extra 5 years to get started. So don't delay. Get started today. Now, recommendation 3 has to do with a critical question. Where do you get that extra 200 to 300 euros every month to save for your retirement? You might think I'm going to say, stop buying coffee or stop eating at restaurants. But instead of that, let me ask you to imagine something horrible. Let's imagine you're in huge trouble. You are about to go to jail for the rest of your life. You will never see your family again. And there is only one way to avoid it. In the next 3 months, you need to get a job that pays you 20% more. Could you do that? Well, if your life literally depended on getting a higher income, most people would move heaven and earth. They would call all their friends and acquaintances. They would apply to 100 positions. They would negotiate with their company and they would make it happen. But here's the problem. For most people, the pain of changing is bigger than the pain of not saving enough for retirement, because retirement seems far away. It's easy to ignore. And that is what keeps you stuck at your current income level, where it's very difficult to save. So my third recommendation is deepen the pain. Think about the retired people in your family who are struggling. Next time you're at the supermarket, look at the older people at the checkout who are counting cents in their hand to make sure that they've got enough to pay for bread or milk. If nothing changes in your life, that could be you. So you need to feel it. You need to believe it until the pain of this future becomes more urgent than the pain of taking action to get a higher income today. Okay, but that only covers motivation. What practical steps can you take to boost your income today? Over my 18-year career as a manager and CEO, I've actually mentored a lot of young professionals, and I'd say 3 out of 4 had a clear path to boosting their income by 10 to 20% within 6 months to 2 years. And usually it comes down to one of 3 tactics. First, negotiate with your existing employer. If you've been a good performer, you might be able to get a salary bump simply by asking. If not, you can often negotiate bonuses for good performance in the future. Second, shop around. Interview at other companies in your industry every 3 to 4 years. Many times you can get a 10 to 20% pay bump just by switching companies, although in some cases you may have to switch to a slightly different position. For example, if you're a public school teacher, you may need to get a job at a private school to get a significant increase in your income. And third, find the easiest upgrade. For many jobs, there is a skill that you can add which makes you much more valuable to your company. For example, if you're a customer service rep who talks to clients all day, if you add a bit of sales skill to that, you become a lot more valuable. That's my fourth recommendation. Negotiate a higher salary, shop around for a new job, and upgrade your skills. And when you succeed, don't forget my recommendation number 5, which I learned from my own painful experience. I've lived on 1,000 euros a month and I've lived on 10,000 euros a month. And I can tell you, there is no amount of income you cannot easily spend. So my recommendation number 5 is this. When your income goes up, don't spend it all. Allocate at least 50% of the increase to your monthly savings and investments. Now, of course, in some cases, you may not be able to increase your income. Maybe you've got health issues or you're taking care of little kids and just don't have the time or energy to work on your career. This brings me to my 6th recommendation, which is all about how you can save more money in a smart way. I don't believe in eliminating all of life's little pleasures just so you can save a bit more every month. We do have to enjoy life today because nobody knows how much time we've got left. That said, not all spending gives you equal happiness. Most research out there suggests that we get a lot more happiness from experiences, from things that we do and experience, as opposed to things that we buy, physical possessions. For example, if you drive a really nice car, you could usually sell that car and downgrade to a cheaper used version or simply take public transport. And this might feel a bit painful in the beginning, but it's not actually going to make you less happy long term. And this allows you to save you a lot of money. For example, I'm financially free. I could afford to buy a Porsche or a Tesla or whatever. But in fact, I almost never drive. I take public transport or walk for an hour and a half to work. It's great exercise and it gives me time to plan, to think. Or if you're living in a nice place in a fancy neighborhood, you can probably downgrade to a more affordable apartment without having a big hit to your happiness. Or if you can reduce how often you get food delivered by just once a month. Depending on what you order, this can cut 50 to 100 euros per month in expenses. Plus, it's usually better for your health if you cook for yourself. So this is my recommendation number 6. Cut your expenses if you need to, but be smart about it. Cut the expenses which will not affect your happiness. And then we get to a really crucial point, which a lot of people don't think about. All the calculations we made so far ignore one important factor. Taxes. Let's say you are fortunate enough to earn 7 to 9% per year in investment profits. This is actually more than enough to build a comfortable retirement, unless you pay a big part of those profits in taxes. Now, the good news is, in most European countries, there are specific investments and investment accounts which are meant for saving for retirement. These pension investments usually reduce your taxes or eliminate them completely. The only problem is that the financial industry often takes advantage of people who don't have financial education. So they charge you enormous fees, which take away the benefit of the tax savings. So my recommendation number 7 is use pension funds and pension accounts, but shop around for the lowest possible fees. And then I have a bonus recommendation, recommendation number 8. If you want to save for retirement, you've got to be investing. All of the math that we looked at, it only works if you invest your money so that when you save €1,000 today, in the future you can spend 3 or 4 or 5,000. The only challenge here in Europe is how to get started. What strategy is best for you? How do you handle taxes? Which investment app or brokerage do you use? There's a lot of questions. So if you want to know how to get started with investing the easy way here in Europe, watch this video next.